Hey everyone, this week I want to take a break from my standard parenting content and have a little conversation that is a little bit more personal to me. Even if you feel like it doesn't directly relate to your parenting journey right now, I'd still love for you to listen. And if you know a school counselor or if your child has one at their school, maybe you could even share this episode with them because this week is National School Counseling Week. And I want to take a moment to highlight the work that school counselors do every day. If you are watching this on my Substack, then you know I came prepared. I'm rocking my yellow school counselor hoodie. Teachers always get so much merch, so why not take a moment to celebrate the counselors too? In my previous district, I was the district counseling rep, and so there were about 20 of us counselors. We were a small but mighty group, and for National School Counseling Week last year, I designed these shirts for us. So it was a fun way to celebrate us. But here's something that's interesting and has always been a little odd to me about National School Counseling Week is that unlike weeks like Teacher Appreciation Week, which is all about celebrating educators, this week is actually about advocating for our profession because school counseling is so misunderstood and we constantly have to explain and defend the role we play in supporting kids. I want to take a moment to send a little love letter to all the school counselors out there. And I'm going to take some time today to share some of my favorite things about being a counselor, advocate for the role, and let families know what is it you should be expecting from your counselor because it is a different role. And also address some of the myths about the profession. I hope that you walk away today feeling like you learned something about school counselors and a little bit of an appreciation for the profession. So for 13 years, being a school counselor was a huge part of my identity. My master's program was the first time I felt like everything truly clicked. I loved talking about mental health, connecting with people, and understanding what was happening underneath kids' behaviors. I started out as a teacher, but I quickly realized that I didn't just want to teach content. I wanted to talk with kids about what they were going through, and school counseling really brought that vision to life. Basically, I wanted to do for kids what I wish would have happened to me, especially during that late elementary middle school time. One of the biggest misconceptions I think about school counseling is that we are quote unquote guidance counselors. And if you are a school counselor, then you know that the term guidance counselor, it's like nails on a chalkboard. And that is because they're different roles, guidance counselor and school counselor. The title guidance counselor, it's really outdated. A true guidance counselor, it's what I experienced when I was in high school. And that was someone who's primarily focused on scheduling and career planning. So they had little to no training in mental health. But school counselors, we are mental health professionals. And so for me, I actually followed both the clinical and school counseling track during my master's program. And the only difference between them was about 2 courses that focused on diagnosing. Otherwise, school counselors, they received the same mental health training as clinical counselors. But for me, it's always felt like, especially as we've paired with clinical counselors in our district, it felt like there's been this perception that school counselors aren't as qualified, that we're just these administrators who handle logistics. And I think that that's such a disservice to the work that we do every day. So what do school counselors really do? What should you expect? And as a school counselor, one of my favorite parts about the building that I was in is that there were 3 of us counselors, and so we had one group of students for 3 years of middle school. So you would get the students as 6th graders, stay with them till they were 8th graders, and then circle back around. And that was the best part because you watched each kid develop so much. If you compare that to clinical counselors, they typically have a caseload of about 20 students, especially the ones that we've had in our schools, versus a school counselor has about 1 counselor for 260 students. And for clinical counselors, something that they need to do for their paperwork and for insurance is that they do need to provide a diagnosis in order to continue with therapy. But for school counselors, they're for every student, navigating their academic, social, and emotional needs. We provide services to all of the students through classroom lessons, small groups, one-on-one, so it can really be tiered to student needs. And we see kids on their best days, their worst days, and all of those in-between moments. We know the inner workings of their friendships because we're around all of their peers all the time. We see their struggles and we know what they are hoping for the future. We also advocate for them within the school system, working with teachers, families, and administration to support the whole child. And yet, because we aren't tied to a bell schedule or a specific class or curriculum, Our role can feel like a mystery. People don't see the day-to-day work that we do, but trust me, it's complex, it's demanding, and it is vital. Last year I gave my annual needs assessment to my students, which is just a form I do every year to assess the needs, to see what kind of classroom lessons are needed, what kind of groups are needed, and which students would like to meet one-on-one. And as I surveyed them, out of 260 students, 20% said they wanted an individual meeting with me. It might seem like a lot of our kids need this in-depth therapy and they're asking for it. But really what I've learned over the years is that most kids don't need intensive therapy. Most kids just need a check-in, a trusted adult who sees them, listens to them, and helps them process their emotions in the moment. And I want to stress that in the moment, because that's where kids live developmentally. And that is the role of the school counselor. You can be that touch point for kids that helps them just kind of process and feel like they have someone in the schools. And so there have been so many times when I've helped a student who was struggling just to walk into the building, or one who had just left a test and was having a panic attack, or one who walked by a friend in the hallway and was spiraling over a look they were given. These moments might seem small from an outside perspective, but to a kid, they are everything. And this is where school counselors make such a difference. By knowing their peers, understanding how kids behave on a typical day at school, right? Because we know our kids behave differently at school and at home. And then building trust with families so we can all work together to support them. That is truly the heart of school counseling. And that's also one of the most valuable aspects of this role. While we are trained mental health professionals, our work extends far beyond that. We're teaching kids goal setting, test-taking strategies, study skills, communication, friendship, and even career exploration. We support students in all areas of their development, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one of the biggest roles of a school counselor. So as I've said, we focus on those three areas: social, emotional, academics, and career. And a lot of that is providing preventative support and services for students. But at the core of our work is one simple and powerful goal, and that is helping students feel a sense of belonging. Because we know that belonging is one of the biggest protective factors for kids. It's something that can buffer against mental health challenges and help them feel safe, valued, and connected. So while we may not provide one-on-one counseling to every student, we are a constant caring presence, someone who is there, someone who is empathetic, someone students know they can turn to, whether for something big or small. And that, above everything else, is the most meaningful role to have. As a parent, if you are looking to connect with someone in the school who you know is going to be an advocate for your child, or can give you a little glimpse into what their day looks like at school, or even just to update them on how your kid is feeling at home, what they're sharing about school, so that they can just be somebody who looks out for them, to let them know, like, hey, if you need something, I'm here. That can just be so helpful. And I think it can be really nice as parents to know that there is that nice, safe person in your building. Before I sat down to record this, I got a very thoughtful text about a former student, a student I haven't talked to in over 6 years, but while she was at the middle school, I probably met with her daily for all 3 of those years. And it was one of those moments that reminded me that we are always planting seeds. It sounds cheesy, but we don't always see the impact of our work right away, but it matters. We are doing the work even when it feels invisible. So to the school counselors out there, please know that what you do every day makes a difference. To the parents listening, know that your child's school counselor is a trained, compassionate professional who is there to support your child's growth. And to everyone, let's take a moment to appreciate and advocate for the people who are doing this work in the schools every day. Thank you so much for listening. And if you know a school counselor, send them this episode, send them a text, or just simply let them know that their work is valued. I will see you next time.